the older, aging, less agile, less mobile, less athletic athlete. Thanks, John. You gotta start mitigating some of that responsiveness, right? Like
there's a lot of truth to this. That the whole title.
I just love, if anybody watches those videos, they're fantastic. Obviously, it's John Donahue. He knows what he's talking about. Beyond reproach, but like, just if you watch the Ageless Jiu-Jitsu, he says that line quite a bit, and he's not wrong. It's just starts to become funny.
Every technique says that.
Yeah, you just have to be efficient. You have to be efficient, and you have to slow the game down because you're less mobile, less athletic, less strong, you're just shit. You're old, you're aging, and you're shit. Welcome to the Oldhammer podcast, where life meets the mats. My name is Sam, and as always, I'm here with my buddy Gordon. How's it going, Gordon?
Good. I'm very good. A little banged up, as usual. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty good. I've had some good rolls. I ran through the gauntlet. We'll talk about that a little bit. But overall, not bad. Not bad at all. A little sore, but that just comes with being old.
Yeah, sure.
So, yeah. How's rolling been?
It's been alright. It hasn't been like great, but I've tried to what's the word I'm looking for? I've tried to offset my disappointment in like how well my rolls have been going with like the fact that I am a little bit banged up, and I am going against people that like are better than me, and I think because I already in my mind I've already made a goal of like what I want to do, so I'm going to, it's basically finding success and failure. Like I'm purposely putting myself in a position where I'm trying to learn a move, learn a system. In this case, like being an effective guard passer. So because that's my main objective, and I think people have already figured that out, we're going to be aiming to stop that. So my success rate is going to drop. So, but in order for me to get better, I kind of have to work through that, all those difficulties. So my success rate, isn't going to be, where I want it for now, at least, until I figure it out. So that's what. So in a nutshell, that's like where I am right now. A little bit like frustrated, but it's okay because I'm trying to learn. I'm not trying to win, which I'll talk about today.
Well, I mean, I think what you just described is what some people, I believe, mistakenly call the blue belt blues. Which you're obviously doing a mental exercise to avoid that, but as someone who got a blue belt, stopped forever, came back, and is rolling again, I think the blue belt, anybody who says like the blue belt blues is kind of just fooling themselves. What they're saying is, well, I reached a level, I should be good at something, and you are against a certain clientele, let's say, certain group of individuals, but then you still need to get better at that thing, whatever it is. Is it guard passing? Is it sweeps? Whatever you're trying to focus on. And now the higher level belts and the other belts at your level have figured this out, that this is what you're trying to get good at, so they're just smashing it over and over, which in the long term will help you get better at it, but in the short term feels kind of depressing because you're like, I was good at this, why is it not working anymore? And it's because other people are countering you, so it'll make you better. So it's that whole be grateful for a good enemy, they will make you better mentality. Yeah,
I'm also trying to make sure that like I don't like when the rolls get kind of tough. Right now I'm working on being trying to be a good, not even very good, just a good body lock passer. So that's part of my pressure passing that I like to do. It's not something that I've done very often, the body lock, until recently. So and then a lot of like my teammates were saying, including instructors, like I think the body lock passing is something that you should add to your repertoire and be quite good at. Because I'm like, yeah, you're right. So then when I go do it and drill it, I think about it at home, watch tutorials, and then I go back and test out. I'm not having the same success, or at least not having the success at the rate that I thought I would. Right. But I have to remember too, like I'm dealing with some injuries, and the side that I like to pass on puts a lot of the pressure. So it's passing to my left side puts a lot of pressure on my left bicep and my shoulder, and I'm working that bicep. And then I could pass the guard with relative ease when I do like a leg weave. I do a 2-on-1 on the arm that's on top. So I'm passing to your right, That's your left arm. You go 2-on-1 and smash the legs and then last out and then go around. That's usually my default. But because I can usually hit that pretty easily, like against blue belts, probably like 6, 7 times out of 10. But then it's like, what happens one day, and it will come when they just know how to stop that.
Yeah.
So I'm very good at this, or pretty good at this one guard pass, become a one-trick pony, and then do I now learn how to be really good at all these other guard passing techniques or styles and systems when I'm like almost a purple belt? It's not like I've like kind of like put myself in a hole to do that, you know. I'm a huge deficit. So right now I'm just trying to bite the bullet and being really diligent and not using that unless I have no choice. So like again, it's like if someone's like a purple belt, I'm going straight to that straight away. But like, I'm not going to. I would try the body lock pass. And if it starts to fail, I'm going to default into forcing myself getting to half guard as fast as possible and using the leg weave.
No,
and it's just yeah. But I guess somebody like a little better than me, a little worse than me, definitely white belts. I'm trying not to use that at all because it just becomes like I'm only using my strength. Like so, using that one move, and then becomes like a one. Then I'm not really creating a system. I'm just being good at one technique, which makes me like very one-dimensional.
Yeah, that's a great point because I've been learning the body lock passes as well, and yeah, it's the same thing. I do like the body lock pass because it does give you more control over the hips, and but you're absolutely right. I was trying it again. So last Thursday, Friday, I don't remember. I ended up going through a bit of a gauntlet. It was a smaller class. Not everybody. Usually there's somewhere between like 10 to 20 people in there, but for some reason this particular day there was only like 6 guys and 2 women, and the instructor, and so it ended up I rolled with actually the guy who taught the class today. He was my first roll then. He was a brown belt because the instructor's out on vacation this week, but so I rolled with him. So my first roll was a brown belt, and I never rolled with him before. So I'm not. I don't think he took it easy on me, but I don't feel he went 100% because that's not what we were trying to do, right? But it definitely was a very tough roll. But then I went to basically a 4-stripe purple, so almost another brown belt. And this guy was a smaller guy, but he's very frustrating for all the reasons you just mentioned. So I was trying to body lock past him because he's a smaller guy, but he knows all the counters. And so eventually I'm like, nuts to this, I'm going to cradle your ass because I got nothing else. But then he slipped out of that. And anyways, then I got a nice reprieve with another opponent where I could actually take it easy and breathe. But then the instructor just basically went, Sam. And this was my 4th roll straight, 6 minutes, so 18 minutes of rolling at this point. And then I went and we started. The other rolls we started on the ground, but this one we started standing up. And oh my god, I have never been. I think he put me on my ass like 6 times, or something. And and I was just defending the entire time, knowing damn well that if he wanted to, at any time he could have leg locked me, choked me, whatever. But it was, I'm so grateful for the experience because it's one of those things where, like you, I'm like, well, I'm pretty good at my level, but then to see that level so far above me that I want to get to one day was almost inspiring in spite of the pain it was inflicting on me, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And then anytime you think you're like becoming too big, it's always good to roll with somebody who like just destroys you. Like, no, I really suck.
Well, I try to stay humble, being like, you got a lot to learn. That's why you're here. I think we'll talk today about the difference between, competition, Jiu-Jitsu for competition and Jiu-Jitsu for learning in a little minute. But like, even while staying humble, sometimes you pull off something and you're like, yeah, I'm the shit. And then it's good to be reminded, like, even if you are the shit, there's somebody out there who's gonna teach you, not so much put you in your place, but remind you that you still have a ways to go.
Oh yeah, you get humbled pretty quickly. It's like, no, I suck.
Instructor has pretty long arms and he's a little bit taller than me, so I've never been head slapped so much. Like, it got to the point where I basically started boxing because I was like ducking these head slaps, thinking about a single leg or trying to do anything, and he's just like that with such rapidity that I was basically bobbing and weaving back and forth like Mike Tyson, just keep his hand off my head. But it was fun. It was, when I stood up after the bell rang and I could catch my breath, I'm like, that was real tough, but that was still fun. So yeah.
Yeah, like it's nice that now that there's so much more stand up, even in a typical no-gi class, especially, there's tons of stand up now. Sometimes like the whole round's just wrestling.
Yeah.
It depends. Like if the guy doesn't want to be on the bottom, you don't want to be bottom, so it's like wrestling back and forth.
Speaking of staying humble, today, to toot my own horn, my first roll today was against another blue belt, and he actually started on mount. I got out of that pretty easily, which I was happy about because that's something I've been working on. Because I hate being in that position, so I was pretty happy with getting out of that. And we actually ended up standing up, and then I judo threw him. I did a full boom, and I was like, "Yay!" Right into side mount. I almost said right into side mount, and I tried it again on him because we stood up again, but he saw it coming that time. So it was more like just a trip as opposed to a full throw, but I was still like, I felt good about it. It made me feel like I remembered something. So
that's good, man. Yeah, I haven't had much success with any takedowns, really. Not too much since like I got back. Just everybody's so much better at wrestling now. Yeah. My setups are really bad.
Yeah, I'll admit.
And then I'm just too tired. I'm just like, I'm not gonna fight this 23-year-old. It's not happening. I usually do a lot of counter wrestling though. That's like 90% of the stand-up I do. So I let them. I purposely put myself in a position where they basically shoot at me. Like I have a down block. My hands always down. Do a down block, and then so they shoot in, and then I go straight to a guillotine and a sweep. Either instead of a high elbow guillotine, and then and I know I'm not going to get it most times, so I just go to a sweep straight away, or I sprawl them with the hand, with like the chin strap control, and that's what I'm talking from there. But my problem is because I think because of the torn bicep, I'm also like hesitant. And just don't have the strength on that side like I used to. They're just drawing and be ruthless.
Right.
And then and the fatigue that builds up in my bicep has been like pretty crazy. So I end up just like circling around and then dragging them back down, or they get back up and it's like a whole bunch of bullshit. So if I kind of get that tap quickly, if I kind of wrap my hands around your head or your and arm relatively quick, it's usually like the losing battle.
Yeah. No, I do like the guillotine as a protective measure. So I got a pretty good sprawl. So I do a lot of that too. Where it's maybe I've started to try singles a little bit more, trying to faux the single into a body lock, right? Or something like that, but I've had pretty much zero success with that to date. So it usually ends up they counter shoot or something like that, and I just stuff and try to get their hands on the mat to counter wrestle. Yeah. Bit of a losing battle there, but I do like the guillotine. I'm trying to work on that one more. Guillotine from everywhere.
Yeah. Like my guillotine and arm triangles have been like the bread and butter of my submissions and stuff.
Submission game.
And then I haven't got any arm bars. I think I got times I got some white belts and the Kimura, but no, it's been just arm triangles. Yeah, arm triangles, smaller chokes. Yeah, and some form of guillotine. A couple times I had darts. I haven't been able to finish up my darts, and a couple times I had anaconda pills. Again, just like I end up like messing it up somewhere, and then I just ended up. I end up on top, which is fine, but like it still sucks because I'm not able to finish it. It's a waste of time, and I haven't been able to identify where I'm going wrong more than anything. So that's the frustrating part.
The one guy I did roll with today, who's a big boy, bigger than me, girthy man. I did try to guillotine him, but he was hand fighting me. So I had it locked. I had an arm in, which I guess I should have just switched to high elbow. And I had it pretty locked, but I couldn't. I'm going to sound like an asshole here. I couldn't lock my legs around him to posture upright with the arm in one when I went under. And I'm like, well, shit. How am I going to finish this? So I just had to let it go because otherwise my arms were going to gas. So I'm like, whatever. It's fine.
You could have switched. You could have. I'm not sure. Like if you could have did like a positional change to the side. So your left save is you got your right arm, his right arm as well, his head in. So you switch to your left. So your left leg is your right leg is kneeling now. that's more over his shoulder, and your left leg's posted like 90 degrees, neck close to his left hip, and then you can sat back and done the garbage guard, where you take your right leg. It's like an open half guard kind of.
Right.
So then you throw your left leg over, and then you drop to your side, so that you can crank. You don't pull back, you crank to your side. So I found a lot of success with that.
That's fair. I could have tried that. I was already under when I was.
Okay.
Yeah, I already posted under, so I could have tried going to like the half guard, garbage block, but
garbage guard.
Yeah, garbage guard, but like
that's what they call it.
Yeah. At that point, I think I was like, it was early in the round. And I'm like, my arms are gonna gas because like he's a big boy. His shoulder is like the size, like just holding my arm in there was starting to get tiring, and I'm like, not worth it. So yeah. I just spun back out, and I was like, never mind. Because the guy must have weighed like 290.
Yeah. That's fucking 290.
Yeah, but he was only like 5'7".
What the hell?
Yeah, that's what I was like. So as a general rule, this is like if a guy weighs more than me, I'm not playing bottom game. Period.
Like bottom game anyway. That's that.
True. I did play a bit of bottom game in my first roll against the other blue belt, but that's because I started mounted. So I'm like, well, I should play hero, but yeah, against him, I was like, you are not getting on top of me. Period, because that would suck. So no.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So a couple. Yeah. I took his back once, but I couldn't. Again, I couldn't leg triangle him, nothing. So he tried to spin once, and I was like, nope, I'm just going to go right back to full mount. Fuck that.
You go to mount a lot, eh?
I go to mount only because I don't like being in mount. It's to set up something else, to get off of mount.
Yeah.
If the mount's there, I'll take it so I can go somewhere else. Because I don't.
If the guy's facing me, I don't go to mount very often.
Yeah.
I'll take their back. I won't take their back, but I'll be like side mount, on their back. Yeah. And I usually I got the seatbelt grip from behind. And when they start to defend, I do like a 2-on-1 on their wrist, and then I gift wrap them. I grab them. I'm team with a gift wrap. Like once I gift wrap you, I'll grab the elbow and I grab it. So even if they do try to give me back up, control it. It's pretty easy to control tension there. And I take my far side knee, and find their like soft rib in the back, and I just grab it. And I look at the clock too. Look at it changes like 10-15 seconds. And then when they change like a different color, that's when I let go a little bit. And then turn it towards me. And usually I set up the darts from there. And then I miss it like 99% of the time. But then I just go around to the back and I redo the whole thing.
Start again.
Dude. Then I get wrapped arm again. This is wasting time. Just look at the clock. Okay, 10 more seconds. I'm gaming 5 minutes. Hey, buddy. Hey. Say hi. Hey. But yeah, I try to gamify it a little bit. And then it takes the pressure off me from trying to submit, run, and just like, okay. Yep. Like, obviously I can't submit this guy because I suck. So how can I gamify? Like if I'm in this position and I can't tap this guy, I can just make his life miserable. Like I'm just gonna keep him there. I'll be like calling like how many more minutes? Like 2 minutes. I'm sorry, buddy. I'm gonna keep him for 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Till the last 20 seconds.
I've definitely been guilty of looking at the clock, for sure.
Dude, all the time.
Like, how long is that? I remember. Before I ran the gauntlet, I rolled with another dude, and he was pretty intense. We can talk about the intensity in a sec here, but I remember it was a very hard back and forth, and I felt good at the end because the guy said, "Man, that was awesome," but I was exhausted. But I remember looking at the clock, and because he reversed it again, and I got into half guard. He was in my half guard, and I'm like, okay, maybe I should grab the wrist, grab this, and I just look up, and it says 7 seconds. So I'm like, fuck it, just gonna hold on. And he's struggling, and I'm like, ding! Oh, thank God that's over. Thank God that's done with.
Oh yeah, dude. I've done that with skates too. Like I'm looking like if I bridge and this doesn't work, I'm gonna be exhausted. So it's like 25 seconds left. Yeah, okay, this is it. I'll do like a John Wick sweep. Toss them over, and then I go full blast. And because I'm like, okay, I can be out here for another 25 seconds.
I'll be okay here. Definitely, you're in a bad position, but there's only 15 seconds left. You're okay. You'll be okay.
I'll explode.
Yeah.
So yeah, you gotta gamify it, especially when you're it's such a good skill to learn. It's like that's a form of intensity. It can't be.
For sure.
You could. There's no reason why you can't just be going balls to the wall like for the whole 6 minutes, 10 minutes, wherever how long you're rolling for every single roll. But if you don't have the physical capability of doing it, you're exhausted. Yeah. And 2, if you're not efficient with your technique, you're gonna be doubly exhausted. Like if you want to be that intense, one, you gotta be in the physical condition. Two, you need that skill set to be super efficient.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Then you're just basically finishing off people really quickly.
especially depending on who you're rolling with. If you're with somebody who's more agile and faster than you, and you try to go balls to the wall, you're gonna gas before they do. But like me rolling with the big boy today, like after that roll, I was super tired because I usually don't have to use, like maybe I use 60% of my strength, but now I'm using 80% of my strength just from the sheer size of this individual that you're dealing with.
Yeah.
And by the time you're done, I'm like, I'm just tired. Like my entire body is exhausted from this. I need to take a break. So it is good to have those little games to mitigate the intensity that you're going with.
For sure, it's a little bit different. I think like we learned pretty quickly, even when we were just rolling in our basements in the garage, that we can't go like follows the wall. And I think it's because before we would like when we used to train, just like we'll go 100%. Like any second is to kill. Drill to kill, roll to kill. We train like how you're going to fight. Like I don't do any of that anymore. I'm just like.
Well, I think that's.
And I can't even do it. My body physically can't do that anymore. So I have to train differently.
As the older, aging, less agile, less mobile, less athletic athlete. Okay. Thanks, John. You gotta start mitigating some of that responsiveness, right? Like
there's a lot of truth to this. That the whole title even.
Yeah. I just love, if anybody watches those videos, they're fantastic. Obviously, it's John Danaher. He knows what he's talking about beyond reproach. But like, just if you watch the Ageless Jiu-Jitsu, he says that line quite a bit, and he's not wrong. It just starts to become funny.
Every technique says that.
Yeah, you just have to be efficient. You have to be efficient, and you have to slow the game down because you're less mobile, less athletic, less strong, you're just shit. You're old, you're aging, and you're shit.
We're not Sigma male enough to do.
Yeah.
All things. Like the beta male style. The beta guard.
The beta guard. Fuck off.
You have to.
Yeah. When I'm
my beard is a couple guard.
Once I get my brown belt, I'll just get on all the gear, and then I'll be alpha again. Fuck it. I won't. I'm not doing that.
Why wait? For brown belt?
Because I don't want to blow out all my tendons. That's why. But speaking of intensity, you and I have slightly different goals in our jiu-jitsu, I believe. Mine is more about learning, is kind of my goal. Learning, obviously intense rolls are part of that education, but that's sort of why I'm doing it. But you still have the will to compete.
Yeah, I still have some like competitive aspirations. Obviously, I've had to. What's what I'm looking for? I had to down-regulate my expectations because I'm older, and I got more injuries building up as well. Just got ultrasound today. We'll get X-ray done pretty soon on my elbow. So I'm already like banged up 2 months back into Jiu-Jitsu.
Well, also I want to put a caveat on this. Just because you might be more focused on competition and I'm a little more focused maybe on learning, those aren't mutually exclusive, right? Because to be competitive, you have to learn, and to learn, you have to be competitive. But why we're talking about this is because perhaps the intensity with which you do things may vary.
For sure. Yeah, and I think like the topic that comes up quite a bit between like a lot of jiu-jitsu practitioners, right now, the discussions that we're having, and it's been had on other podcasts. And the thing is like, are you training to win or are you training to learn? Those are two very different things. People think it's one and the same. It's actually not. If you're training to win, that means all your rolls, all your drills, you are trying to be better than this person. So you're not actively trying to be better at jiu-jitsu. You're just trying to be better than whoever you're going against right now. So that roll, that spar that you're having today with the 3, 4, 5, 6 people, you just want to beat them. So people might think like, well, iron sharpens iron, but like, you not always, not in that sense, you can't be just like smack, like, beating up your training partners all the time and have them do the same to you. Because you guys are always, what's going to happen is because you're aiming to win, you're not really ready to open yourself up to new things. You're going to try to use your A game only, And if that doesn't work, then you're stalling. So what also stalls is your progression in jiu-jitsu. You become this very tough competitor, and but you will default to your strengths without expanding the game. You might eventually do it, like after 10, 12, 15 years, but you could have gone to where you wanted maybe sooner with less injuries, maybe like instead of 15 years, maybe 10 years. Still a long time, but like that's 5 years less, you know. And when you're training to learn, it puts a lot less pressure on you. Like you have a goal in mind, and you don't really care if you win the role. Obviously, you care, but it's more like because like okay, like I care that I got tapped out today or I got swept. In my case, like I said in the last podcast, is that I'm trying to be really efficient and systemize my pressure passing. And go for this pressure pass. Okay, that doesn't work. What am I trying to do here? Okay, I already passed the legs. I control his knees. Okay, now I'm reaching over the head, but I made a mistake trying to get chest to chest, but I haven't controlled his hips.
Yep.
That's an issue that I'm having, and I need to remember. Okay, one joint at a time, control it all, and then maybe I can now reach from the far side underhook, head, get chest, and then et cetera, et cetera. So and if I can go through the whole row and I pass the guy's guard, I don't get submitted. I don't really, maybe sweat once, but I still stay on top. And I don't submit him. He doesn't submit me, and I managed to pass his guard once, maybe twice, and then he restarted. To me, I'm like, wow, that was a successful row because my main objective was to pass his guard. Now, if I can consistently pass everybody's guard that I row with, but I'm having an issue now with controlling side mounts. Then now that's the new part I need to learn. Now passing guard isn't a real issue now, so because I'm training just to do that, and that's how you break down drilling. But if you're drilled to kill, you drill to fight to the death. You're gonna be really frustrated. Oh, I didn't tap him out, or I didn't sweep him and get back on top. This and that. Like you make every single sequence of jiu-jitsu a battle where you're not learning.
And one of the things with that is it becomes mentally exhausting.
It's super exhausting.
So in my case, like it can also kind of limit you in a way. Like you're taking a really analytical approach, which I think is great. But it can limit you in your willingness to try other stuff, right? Where as the detriment to only doing the learning, like if your goal is primarily learning jiu-jitsu, for the sake of learning jiu-jitsu, one thing I always have to tell myself is you can't learn everything at once. So the flip side of the competitive coin is you might get a lot of tunnel vision on doing those techniques and winning every single battle, the mini battles. And if you lose one of the mini battles, you might get in your own head, like, right? But the flip side from the learning, if without focusing on some competitiveness, is you could get lost in trying to learn all of the things. So you can become very focused. Right?
You're almost too fluid. You're almost like, oh, that's a nice thing to do. You're almost too like relaxed.
Almost too relaxed.
Yeah, so, not focused enough.
This is why we said a few minutes ago that like they're not mutually exclusive. You still have to be competitive if you're willing to learn. But you need to be willing to learn if you're competitive, because the goals are different. Like I feel more relaxed going into roles, even against somebody I know is going to be a hard role. Because I've given myself the freedom to like try that technique I learned 2 days ago and see if I can pull it off. And if it doesn't work, fine. I can always default to my strengths. But the problem is I can't try 9 different techniques all in the same role, because I won't do any of them, right? So I kind of have to pick and choose. Like, okay, these are the ones that I seem to like, or that I want to see if I like, and see if I can learn them. Now I've got to go through the repetitions, and if I screw up, I'm going to screw up, so that's okay, right? I can always just learn something else and try something else. And if there's something I really can't get, like one of the things that I want to learn that I'm trying to learn from bottom, is just being better at elevating my opponent's hips, so I can pull one of the legs in, right? Which is tough, especially in no gi, because you don't have the grips like you do in gi. But like there's ways to do it with your C grip to push them over, elevate the hips to pull the leg in, stuff like that. So I've been trying a little bit of that, failing miserably. But that also means like I'm not trying to do triangles from the bottom, because that's not my thing. I don't want to do that, and things like that. So I can focus on that, and then from top game I can focus on body lock passing or something like that, or standing, either trying to get a guillotine or a single, right? So you can focus on those things. But I have a little more freedom because I can focus on a few more things than if you're just straight competition where you have to play to your strengths in every battle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think like what we're talking about is like really important regardless. Like if you're a young practitioner or an old practitioner, I keep saying lifter because it's like
it's ingrained.
Yeah, it's a force habit.
We're
not lifting
we're
days.
both lifters, so
yeah,
this comes to mind because a lot of the things we learned from lifting also apply to jiu-jitsu in terms of the mentality of it, right?
Yeah, I think in terms of programming and delayed gratification, it's like the most successful lifters, powerlifters, weightlifters, whatever I call it, they tend to delay the gratification. They don't max out as often. They progress really well. Like they're very analytical with how they train, how they set up the training. And I think if you take jiu-jitsu, you take that and you take it to jiu-jitsu, like it's easy to identify where you're struggling. The thing about jiu-jitsu is, or any combat sports, is that the frustration really comes from not so much being stuck or bad at something. It's what you don't know why you suck. Yeah. That's really frustrating because if you know where you suck, then you're like, okay, I can identify. Yeah, but you can identify what you need to do. So that was my frustration, for a long time in jiu-jitsu. I was like, man, it's going to be as hard as possible. I'm going to be tough. That won't make anything to war. Because eventually I'm going to figure it out. But that's really, really a bad way of doing it. That progression is really slow, And then now, it's only been 2 months, and I do get frustrated still, like constantly. But I know more or less why I make a mistake. For me, when I do a body lock pass, man, like even like he's this guy who I'm rolling with. He's got both hooks in for his butterfly, and I get the body lock that I want, and I go really like it's really easy for me to get into like to force into like a half butterfly. So he's only got one hook in. So I'm controlling him. I've tipped him over to the side. And I still can't get my down leg over his knee, even with my elbow driving it out. Yeah. But my issue is that I keep forgetting to walk my leg across. So I'm turning so I have a better angle. I'm just trying to okay, he's tipped over. I got a great grip around his waist. I got my knee down on his thigh. I just can't get this damn leg over. No, down leg. So I try to walk my leg a little bit more to the right, so to my left. And I could, a couple inches more, I could have just got my knee over and then been set 2-on-1 his knee, and then the rest is history. Keep forgetting it. So I'm really frustrated that I'm forgetting that, but because I know where I'm wrong, frustration it doesn't stay with me, right? It's like, oh my god, I think back on drives, like I know exactly what I did wrong. Why I can constantly do it. I know that once I figure it out it's going to stay with me because it's like finally I know what I need to do. Now it's like it's instinctual, right? And that's the whole point is that you're trying to not to think so much about jiu-jitsu in the beginning. Obviously you do, but to get to the point that breakthrough, I know once I remember to walk my down leg across, it's going to be good.
But you made two very good points there. One is post-roll, ask yourself the question. Like if you're doing an open mat and you're doing 8 rolls in a row, you're not going to be able to do that after every single roll, right? Because you have 5 seconds in between, 10 seconds in between to find a new partner or whatever. But go through the highlights in your head, not necessarily of what you did wrong, but what you could have done better, which is what you're talking about, and just replay them and say, okay, why didn't that work? What did I miss? I missed a step. I didn't walk to my left. Or today, for me, when I shot a single and I got the leg, and I was like, well, why couldn't I? Well, my left knee was up. I was in the wrong spot. I had my right knee down, and my left knee up on his left leg. Well, if I'd switched the knee, put my left knee down behind his ankle, then I'd have the power to drive up. But I didn't do the switch when I grabbed the leg. Now I know for next time, right? It's those little things, right? And sometimes you can get away with some stuff, but when you look back on it, you go, well, how could I have done that better?
Yeah, and since we're on the topic of like learning, like efficiently, like when to go hard, when to like just be relaxed, you'll be less frustrated if you keep drilling, not drilling, I guess technically drilling, but like concentrating on one thing. Like, yeah, a lot of things could have happened. The roll, I did this wrong, I did that. Sure. But because I'm not really concerned with all that, because I'm just trying to concentrate, like in my case, still guard passing. It's like I know exactly like where my frustrations are. It's like I only need to concentrate on this for now, like I keep getting my back like
Taken?
constantly taken. That's super fucking frustrating.
I'll bet.
And then so to me, it's like,
You're gonna be really good
oh
at
my
back
God,
escapes, though.
yeah, up to a certain level, then it's like then I
Then
suffer
yeah,
terribly. Yeah.
you
So
get to
like,
practice lots of back
but I have,
escapes. There's your gold
like for
stick.
me, like when my back is taken, at this point, I'm like, I almost have a smirk on my face, like, okay, like here we are again. But I'm not super upset because I'm not. I will get there, obviously, but I haven't made it. I'm obsessed with getting out of there. Right now, I'm only obsessed with being like a systematic pressure passer, and I'm just concentrating on those few things, a few techniques, setups to systemize it. So all my concentration is there. People might be like, "Oh, you're having this tunnel vision. You're not really learning." But once I say a systemat is this
Systemized.
the way I want to pass consistently. Yeah, it's not really something I'm gonna be frustrated with all that often. Now I can concentrate on other stuff. So that's how I system-based learning. And I think it's really important to be like, yeah, I want to be great. I want to be great on bars from guard. I'm like, okay, what happens if you can't get your in you? That's just you. Okay, you just that's just a move. Like how are you going to systemize? What happens if that armbar fails? Like, are you going to go to triangle? Are you going to omoplata? How about those all fail? Are you going to sweep them from there from the omoplata? Are you going to go back to the armbar? And so on and so forth. Once you can do all that, that's a system. If you're really thinking, well, okay, the angle is like me meeting them on the armbar, that's fine. But what happens when things break down and then you have to go from position to position? Then you can come back to where you want. That's when you really systemize what you want. What's a system? It's a closed loop because you keep going from advantage to advantage to advantage. And go, okay, buddy. And then that's what makes jiu-jitsu less frustrating is because your frustration is concentrated. So you can pinpoint that frustration, work through it. Whereas before, if you just go to class, you learn your techniques, and then you think your instructor has if you think your instructor has all the answers, and then you just go there and not really do any homework outside of jiu-jitsu, you're going to be really frustrated. You got to think about jiu-jitsu, what you want. You can't be, I want to be great at my top game. That's really general. Like that means, what do you mean by that? You systemize your learning by systemizing what you want and what you want in a closed loop system. Meaning, how can I have what I want and then learn sequences that gets me back to where I want all the time. I'm constantly there. So once you do that, then it's better that way. It's like you try to learn it like math. You're fundamentally your addition and subtraction sucks, but you want to try to learn like algebra. You're trying to learn calculus. Like no, if you're just picking up garbage moves and equations here that have no fundamentally, you're so weak. Like it's not going to get you anywhere. It's just going to be frustrated. It's just numbers at that point.
Yeah, and I get frustrated. I still get frustrated too, obviously, but it's mitigated by the fact that I can say, well, I was frustrated at this moment because of what I wasn't doing. But then you can also take a look. Well, what was my opponent doing? Because they were obviously doing something right? And then you can, if you're in this context of trying to create the systems that are going to work for you, and I just want to deviate for a quick second, being like, if you're a white belt, like brand new, maybe one stripe. You're gonna start picking up things that that maybe you can start putting in the system, but realistically, it's gonna take you a while to learn enough to start doing what we're talking about here. Because if you come and you know nothing, and you've never wrestled before or done any sort of grappling before, the best thing you can do is just try to absorb the fundamentals as best as you can, positioning and things like that. But eventually, over time, because you will be frustrated as a white belt, especially if you roll with the higher belts. But over time, you'll start getting some confidence, and then you'll be able to start doing what we're talking about, like piecing together. So, am I a top game player? Am I a bottom game player? Okay, from that position, what is the system that's going to move me through to the places I need to be? And so take all of your frustration with a grain of salt, and I think that's harder. Especially, I think it was especially hard for us as young men, because patience is a thing that is learned. And you just have to be patient with yourself.
Yeah, interesting. I was talking to this other guy. He was like, he's not that old. He was like 31, and he's been doing jiu-jitsu, kickboxing, all that other stuff for a while. He goes to this other another gym. That we know the other gym, but it's like a MMA gym. And then after rolling, or leaving, he's like, "Hey man, this place is great. Like the place I train at." And he was saying that everybody's so friendly. Everybody asks questions and everybody's like willing to teach you. I'm like, oh, yeah, like why wouldn't they? He's like, oh, my last place. They're like always like, oh, I'm busy. Oh, I gotta leave. Oh, I can't come now because I'm gonna do this. And people kind of like don't want to teach. They're kind of like safeguarding
Oh,
what they have. I think it's because like it's the culture of like kind of keeping everything, your cards close to your chest, and you don't, you know, it's like you're looking at everybody in your class as competition, right?
mm. I am
And
guilty of doing the. Sorry, I got to go back to work, but that's because I roll at noon and I do have to go back to work.
no, that's different. That
But
is
I
literally not
sometimes
going
still
to
feel
work.
bad about it and be like, actually, I do want to roll, but I have a meeting that I really got to get to.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, you're
It's always
absolutely
that.
right. Like I've never, just a general philosophy about my existence is I have never understood gatekeeping information, unless it's for national security. But that's a different topic. But
Oh, I
like
think I understood. Oh, go.
it just feels wrong to me that if I know something, and this happened when we started rolling. I learned like a half guard sweep, and I'm like that with a little move to get an underhook, and I could have kept that to myself and tried it in our roll and maybe surprise you. But what good is that gonna do me if I surprise you with it, or do what we did? Hey, dude, I just learned this. I think this is pretty cool. I'm gonna show it to you. You can try it on me. I can try it on you. Now we go to our live roll. Now I can try it for real and learn where my mistakes were. And I made a lot of them, but it got better, right?
Sure.
So it just never made sense to me. Why are you gatekeeping information?
Yeah, I think where we used to train, it was like kind of like a rite of passage. I remember asking some of the higher belts, like, hey, how do I do this? How do I do that? They're just, oh, you just gotta come to class. You know, the classic
Yeah.
Jiu-Jitsu answer. Then
Well,
just keep coming.
just keep
You
going to
eventually
class. You
learn.
get it.
Not really. Not fucking really. Like you, boys gone, so I can swear. Not really. You know, like it's that's not how you learn. I mean, like it's
No,
more
no.
like how you survive. Oh no, he's back.
Well, I also think
But
it. I also think it goes into like what we were talking about intensity. Is I I could be wrong about this, but I think that gatekeeping that information causes lower level belts to roll more intensely and cause more injuries because
yeah,
they don't know what they should have done for theirs, so they're not relaxed. And if they're in a competitive environment, which most jiu-jitsu gyms are competitive, regardless of which goal you're after,
yeah.
you still want to be competitive and you want to have those tough rolls, but you're gonna try and smash instead of using a technique or a system. My opinion.
Yeah,
This is just my opinion.
no,
I could be
no,
wrong.
I know. I agree with you. I didn't think about it that way. I think that the gatekeeping really makes like people like internally very anxious. It's like, okay, what secret technique does this blue belt know? And then when we're blue belt, what secret technique does the techniques that the purple belt
Yeah.
won't like, give to us or the brown belts and black belts? It's like they have their own secret society, like they
Yeah.
not
When
open.
when do I
So
earn passage into that? What do I
yeah,
need to
what's my
do
passage like?
to?
And then why is it? And then you see like they have sometimes these purple belts and brown belts, black belts, whatever, they have a favorite white belt, blue belt. They kind of like foster
Mentor.
like their foster
Yeah.
kid. And I'm just like, how come this blue belt gets to be like ushered into this group like? And there he gets all his questions answered. It's because they like him because they see him as a prodigy, so they kind of like
Yeah. Yeah.
they want to be associated with this prodigy, jiu-jitsu prodigy. It's like,
It's kind
okay,
of
because I'm
class.
just the average jiu-jitsu guy.
Yeah.
I'm not progressing at this like phenomenal level. And not everything's coming so like easily to me. Um,
But
they almost want this young prodigy's clout.
yeah. Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
like young
But
kids they
on that note,
clout for like how well he's
on that
progressing.
note, today, if you are not the prodigy, or even if you are the prodigy, to be honest, and maybe you don't know you're the prodigy, but somehow you're talking to all the brown and black belts, and they're giving you all the sources of advice, and that's great. But if you're not, if you're rolling more casually, maybe you're only going twice a week. Now is, I think, a golden age, which I think when we came back into it, um, uh, it was easier for us to get our heads wrapped around it because it's a golden age of information from YouTube, from BJJ Fanatics, Gold BJJ. Uh, I could go on listing like hundreds of them. Dean Lister's tutorials, just to name a few. You can start getting information outside of class. And this is my only caveat or caution to that is if you are in a place where outside information is still frowned upon, I would still suggest to go and seek it out.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I would
Just
still
don't-
recommend to do that. Maybe the instructor said, well, you didn't learn that from me. And you go, no, I just tried something out. But if they really start giving you grief about it, well, I can't tell you what to do. I know what I would do, but I would find a new gym.
Well, I'll tell you what I would do. Oh yeah, if that's like not the only available option for you to train jiu-jitsu,
Yeah.
find out a place,
Find out a
man.
place.
You definitely find out a place.
I only heard my instructor. Sorry, just a quick side story. I only heard my instructor said, "Well, you didn't learn that here once," and it was a guy who was full mounted on the other dude, and he was a lower belt than the guy he mounted, and he just grabbed on and figure eight, figure four, whatever, locked his legs in, bear hugged him, and just hung on to the mount for dear life. Instead of doing something, he was just and the instructor was just like, "Dude, no, that's not what we do." You're in the dominant position. Don't do that. Figure something
Maybe he was trying to do a smother choke, you know?
It didn't look like it. I think he was just. Anyways, I just thought
nervous.
It was a funny aside. The only time I've heard him say that was like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Yeah. I think that if just saying, if you got a place that doesn't like you doing outside their curriculum, then you're in the wrong place to progress. I mean, like, they should be just happy that you're trying to do jiu-jitsu. Maybe you'd be like, oh, okay, you like doing that. You didn't learn it from me today. Last few weeks we haven't been doing that. Like, why don't I give you my opinion as the black belt, brown belt instructor? How you can, since we're gravitating towards that, right? Yeah. Last thing you want to do as a instructor, as a teacher, anything, is to like stomp on the enthusiasm of the student.
Yeah. This isn't.
You should be like, well, this I would set this up. You know, this is my opinion as a black belt, brown belt. This is how I would do it. Because a couple times when I was doing the moves, the techniques that day, I was like having a tough time. I kept landing on different positions, and my instructor, he was just like, "Yeah, that's fine, but since you are in this position, you keep for some reason landing in this position." I think it was like a leg lock, like single axe, and then you sweep them and stuff. And I just kept messing up. He's like, "No, this is like where you were landing is still a viable option. Since you're here all the time, you can do this." I'm like, oh, okay. It wasn't like, okay, you're doing everything wrong. Yeah. Go back and do it again. It was like, okay, so for some reason, this seems to be something your body wants to do.
Seems to move in this direction.
Let's see how you can finish it off from here. I'm like, oh, well, this is fucking nice. Whereas we've been like reprimanded back in the day, and fun of. Like, oh, it's so simple. Like, how come you can't do it? Like,
how come you can't do it? I showed it to you.
And then everybody's like snickering, haha. And then it's like more like nervous laughter too. It's like, thank God it wasn't me that fucked up. And whereas like before, and also I really like instructors, and this pertains to my instructor, like when we're doing a front headlock series, it was coming really easy to me. I was really enjoying it, and he could tell. He's like, "You said, you know what, man? I think this is your game." I'm like, "Oh, really?" He's like, "Dude, like, I saw you roll, and everything we learned in class day, you're applying. Like, most people aren't applying what they learn, like, straight away." And then after that, I'm like, "Okay." So he said, "You should constantly." I think, like, I told him, I actually really like doing this. It's like my preferred way of fighting. He's like, "Dude, perfect, do it." And after I did that, that's all I've been hunting. Maybe I'm kind of like pigeonhole myself, but my submission rate has gone up, and I'm really enjoying jiu-jitsu. When I get to that position, any front headlock position, even the side mount where I can really just attack, say guillotines, kanas, dude, I don't give a shit. If I was an asshole, there's a few times I could have got a neck crank. Remember the butcher shop, Neo Milances? I actually did that a couple of times. I just put my knee on the guy's neck, and I let go, and then I went back. Next time I go, I was telling myself, okay, I'm a dick face. I can just slide my knee through and just reach this thing. All I did was gently kind of push it through a little bit, and I took my knee out. That was just for me, and also for the person I rolled with. But hey, this could have been like.
That goes into what we were talking about, intensity. Not every roll you have to murder the guy if you have the opportunity. If you get to a point where you're like, I have this. I know I have this. I could lock it in. I could wrench it out. I'm good. I don't need to hurt my training partner. I don't need to create a rivalry with this person for what? For a tap? Whatever.
For bragging rights.
Yeah, for bragging rights, because that's all it's worth. In the end, you're not getting a trophy at class. You're not getting a gold medal for tapping out your training partner. So, if you know you have it and you've done it correctly, you can let the intensity go. But I remember back in the day, I was hanging on to a boomerang choke for dear life because I did not want to. I did not want to seem like I let it go for no reason, and that was stupid.
Yeah, dude. Holding on to like I remember holding on to submissions like that I knew they were failing, but I was like, nah, I'm not letting this go because like I know this one is gonna stall for time, two is gonna exhaust the person, and you're just trying to fight to win. It was like really like.
But all you're doing is stalling your progress.
Really suffocating that type of environment. I think that's a young man's environment. I think there are some people who can thrive through that environment for sure. But you need to be type of psychopath or sociopath and to really thrive with that. Just to be like, we train to kill. and that means all my teammates. And I don't care
Yeah.
that I have to go through everybody to get to where I want. I'm like, okay, yeah, no, I like, I like most people until they prove me wrong. So I'm just not going to. I don't think that's a good environment for like, especially older guys like us. It's like
Yeah.
I think we're wise enough now to see the errors of that way of training, and like jujitsu. One, if like in your case, it's like a journey to becoming the best jujitsu practice you can be. You don't need to go out to compete to know that you're good at jiu-jitsu. For me, I feel the same way, but I know like my competitive career is coming to end. And I just want to eke out as much as I can, and then right off in the sunset, and just be a night enforcer.
Fair
It's
enough.
like that's it, and then I roll for fun. I just really just enjoy doing jiu-jitsu, and
Yeah.
then once in a while, like if in the gym, hopefully I'm a brown belt, black belt by then, and then some guy is
Have a
like
good time.
wants to go super hard, we can go super hard, and like it's like Abu Dhabi. But that's not like that's more like a choice rather than like I'm putting all this pressure on myself. It's like once in a while I'll test myself flat.
Well, I think we can sum this up as learn to be competitive and be competitive to learn, but
Yeah,
go easy on yourself. It's a long
yeah,
road.
yeah, definitely. It's a long road. I do like I said, like I still put pressure on myself. I was telling my other instructor, and I was telling him, man, like I'm super frustrated, like with the whole this whole system I'm trying to do with being this very effective pressure passer. Some days are good, and some days are just friggin' awful. And he's like, dude, you're just starting again. You took such a long layoff. You're improving. You're slowly getting better. But like you, it's only been 2 months. It hasn't even been 2 months, and you're like putting all this pressure on yourself.
Yeah.
And I just told him like, I do put a lot of pressure on myself because I set a certain standard. I like to exceed that standard, especially when it comes to like physical activity. And it's because I think I've usually gotten to like I set a goal physically. I set a goal like athletically. I set a goal, and I've usually come very close or surpassed it. And then right now, I just feel like I'm at the age where I'm older, less mobile, less athletic than I was a decade ago. I put more pressure on myself now than before because I feel like time is running out. Whereas I feel like I'm not afforded that time to mess up and learn. Like, oh man, I did not have a good training session today, and it's like, oh, that's another day wasted. And I'm so banged up, I can't train back to back days very often. So I was like, oh, now I can only train 2 days from now in order for me to recover. And it's like, oh, whereas before it's like, if I mess up today, I can go tomorrow. I can go the day after. I can go 6 sessions, doubles. It's okay. I can like just so I can win that battle of attrition, because I have time on my side and I have youth on my side. I have neither now. Then that's my problem. If I had like the same aspirations as you, it was like, okay, I just want to be the best black belt I can be, and I don't need to compete. It'd be quite liberating. But since I'm such a
It's a
competitive
lot more
asshole,
fun. For me at the time,
yeah,
because when I go to class, like I still get a little nervous because obviously you're about to fight, right? But the nervousness is like it dissuades almost immediately when I step on the mat because it's like, oh right, I'm here for fun. I'm here for fun and learning. Great, as long as I don't blow up my knees by doing something stupid. We're gonna have a good day, and if I have a shitty roll, I can let that roll off my back. If I have a really good roll, I can put that in the memory bank. So it is kind of liberating in a way. But if wisdom could be imparted unto the young, we would live in a better world.
yeah, for sure.
So
Well, we're trying to do that with this podcast, and
Yeah.
try to, even if it's only like 10 people listening or 1,000 people listening, we just want to impart like that to take a step back. And if you're going to be nervous about your training and be obsessive, put a lot of pressure on yourself, make sure that it's done in
effective.
the most obvious way, in most effective way,
yeah.
and it's to really like concentrate on one particular goal and systemize that goal. And like I said, it's less frustrating. It's like what that if whatever struggles you're having, you know exactly what they are, rather than just ambiguous. Oh, I suck at jiu-jitsu. It's like, okay, well, we both still suck at jiu-jitsu. Like if we were to take a step back and really kind of like dwell on how much we suck, that's really overwhelming.
I know
So
a black belt who recently started doing no-gi, and obviously he's a black belt, so he knows what he's doing. But he even has this no-gi thing. It's different. I mean, there's things that are just it moves faster, and I'm learning. Best attitude ever.
yeah,
He could have come in and be like, I'm a black belt. I should shit kick everyone, and he still is, and he's really good. Obviously, he earned it. But he came in with there are things that are different. I need to learn these things. This is why I'm here. And he was going to competition. So, like, that, if I'm to depart anything, what you're saying is that it's a road, it's a journey. Hit the little goals. If you do the little goals, eventually you'll get to where you want to go.
But even more than that, like that, yeah, that's the general gist of it. It's just to really, I can't emphasize enough. Like my stress level went significantly down, my anxiety went down with the whole with Jiu-Jitsu and my progression with it. Once I made a singular goal and to figure out like, what to do with it, to identify like what's going on. I know I keep talking about fucking hard passing because that's all I want. Like it could have been like for me, it could have been a completely different skill set. Like, oh, I want to be incredibly good at butterfly guard and how to set everything up from there. You couldn't do that, but in this case, it's pressure passing, and everybody's gonna have to deal with that until I figure it out.
Yeah,
that's what we're talking about.
On that note, I think
that's the thing. And then my anxiety went down.
Yeah, no, that's great. Like I said, on that note, if you want less stress at Jiu-Jitsu, figure out your goals. Don't worry too much about the rest. You can be competitive. You can go to learn, and just remember, in the end, there's always a bigger fish, but eventually you'll be a big fish too. So,
sure.
You got to get to some rolling today. I got to get some food. So, to everybody who's been listening, we appreciate you. Gordon?
Yep.
Any final thoughts?
Oh, final thoughts. Nothing. Just ready to get my ass kicked in Jiu-Jitsu today.
Die 1,000 deaths and eventually you'll live. All right, everybody. Yeah. We appreciate you. Like, subscribe, comment, and we'll talk to you soon.
Here.